as we are heading into 2025, I think it's important you start building that mental state for you to build your wealth right now, this moment. Do not wait till January 1st, set up these New Year's resolution, because you want to already have the momentum. So that way when January 1st gets here, I've already got a head start to actually build my wealth and get to exactly where I want to go. Some of the things you can do: start thinking about either a job that you want to attain, a certain salary level that you want to attain. Do you need to start switching out careers? So if I want to save this much, I got to think about all my expenses, how much rent I'm paying, how much money I have to set aside for groceries, how much I'm setting aside for bills, car insurance. Put all that stuff together. Then you work your way backwards to figure out, okay, this is how much I need to be able to make on a monthly basis in order for me to save this much amount of money to reach my goal. And then if you see you're not making enough, then you start figuring out, all right, I need to find a higher paying job. We should always be on the lookout for a higher paying job. That should always be the goal. Don't stay stagnant. They could promise you the world, but I can tell you that their loyalty is not quite there. You're going to have higher folks. It may not be your manager. It might be higher folks within the organization that's just worried about a number or a particular thing that they have to accomplish. For them, they have to do their job and disregard your feelings, your relationship with your manager. They don't really care about that. They have to do their job for the company and make sure the company survives through the next phases that it needs to go through. You're just a minion throughout the entire equation. And that's why you want to ensure you always give your best, of course. Do not take that to the point where it's like, oh, I'm going to give companies minimal. Don't do that, because as much as you give is as much you're going to receive. You want to make sure you give your best foot forward. Put the extra effort in every work that you do, like it's your last, as you doing it unto God. That's how the Bible instructed for us to do. And our rewards may not come from the company itself. It may not come from a person that's working in there or your manager. It may come from an outside source, or it may come in a new job opportunity, or you'll have to start spurging up. And if you have your hands dabbled in several things, you're going to see that reward regardless, because you have done the best that you can to your capabilities, your understanding. That's one thing you definitely don't want to neglect, is the constant motion and move, having an increase within the company. If they're not giving you that increase, that proper increase, then you figure out a way to make your next move. Unfortunately, that's how companies realize your value sometimes. You got to step out, find something else. You get another offer comes in. That's when they're going to try to offer you more money at that point in time. At that point, you just move on. That's the best thing to do. Even if they find something where they're either matching it, why are you doing it now? Why couldn't you do it before when I was asking for that? And most of the times you're asking even for less what that new company is offering, which is what is surprising. So I was asking for less money before and you said no. And now this company is giving me this much more than what I was asking before. And now you're willing to match it, which is crazy. You should take that as a signal. You just need to kind of move on from that point forward. No hard feelings. You can always come back. Make sure you set relationships right. Relationships are everything when it comes to moving around jobs. The further you get down in your career, you're going to see how small the world is. Therefore, keeping a tight niche within your relationships, the companies that you work with, the people in the organizations, is so crucial and important. Therefore, you definitely don't want to make sure you had any bad blood. Every company can welcome you back with open arms. I personally, my rule is to try to not go back to that company and try to find somewhere else to grow and nurture myself. But at the same time, you never know. You never know. You got to humble yourself. Don't be stubborn about it. I'm not at all. I'm not afraid to reach out to any of my past managers and be like, hey, listen, I want to give this another shot again. Can we make this happen? And see if the numbers make sense, see if the opportunities make sense. But don't force it. It should feel natural. Or even if they reach out, then you're like, I think I can consider that. That can also be an opportunity for you to look at it, see if it's something that can potentially work. But I always encourage you to pray about it. Don't make decisions out of your own wisdom and intellect. This is why on here, we seek God's counsel, we seek His wisdom, we seek discernment and the understanding from the Holy Spirit. Because we as human beings, we only make decisions with these right here, with our eyes. When the Spirit is much more aware, much more awakened, and it knows everything that is going to be, what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And I went through a similar situation where I'm like, how could I pass this up? My human mind think about it. I'm like, how could I pass this up? But for some reason, that's what I felt. Like, that's really what I felt. And I was praying for this opportunity entirely. I had to pass it up because something about it wasn't right, how everything went. And I just trusted the Holy Spirit. And if I disobeyed, Lord, please forgive me. I really hope that was my obedience to the Holy Spirit entirely. Once you now have that established, you got the job, you got the increase, it's easy to fall into the trap of, I'm going to spend more because now I have more. No, you got to set that mentality that I'm going to spend the same amount. Don't do nothing to increase anything at all. I know for me, at one point, I did get a new car after I had switched one job to another. But even the previous job, I was able to afford the car, but it wasn't the smartest move for me to do because I was really focused on my home, fixing what I could and upgrading it. But the car got to the point where there was no more of it. And I went and bought the car that I wanted. Nobody could tell me nothing. I paid for whatever it cost. I didn't care. I saved up so much at that time and I had the ability to afford it. Not just from the payment plan perspective, but in case the worst case happens, I had enough saved up. Having enough saved up doesn't mean it's sitting in your bank account. It could also mean inside of your retirement account. People neglect that fact. You should be maximizing your 401k, especially throughout these past couple of years when the market was all down. That was the best time for you to keep maxing out your 401k. I pumped as much money as I could. One, because I was self-employed, I'm running business. I was able to put not just the employee side, but also the employer side as well. So capitalize on those opportunities is great. If 2025 is that booming period where everything just starts splurging higher up, great. I'm going to see the uptick in stocks as well as the uptick in the crypto side. And I have a lot of crypto link stocks that I purchased, which I'm seeing the repercussion, the benefits of it all right now. And they're not even at their highs where they were at in like 2021. What I always see with crypto, it always peaks higher than what it last peaked. So take that into account, save consistently, and make sure you're nourishing. When you keep that humble mindset, it gets you going, and make sure that you never fall short. The worst thing that can happen, you always have the ability to get back up because you had enough saved up and you weren't splurging out here versus panicking, going crazy when situations like this you come across. So stay consistent, don't quit, don't give up. Seek for that counsel from God in all those matters. When it comes to buying, figure out which investments to do. Don't have the fear of missing out. If you see something is shooting up like crazy, don't take that as the opportunity. This is what I need to capture. See what's low right now and that you can, one, hold on to for the long term, and you see an opportunity that it will be successful in the future. To figure out if something is successful, look at their business model. Is it something people are actually using till today? Like, for example, although Lucid Motors, their stocks is doing bad right now, being battered and bruised, I am seeing some of their cars on the road. Rivian as well. The whole EV space pretty much is down right now. So I did buy a bit more just to ensure that I'm able to have allocations in that capacity. And you got to diversify. You can't put everything inside of one bucket. You got to make sure you put some here, some there, so that way if one area lapses, the other one grows, you're not missing out. If the stock crypto side just booms like crazy, I can liquidate that, held it for a year plus, long-term capital gains, while the EV space is still low, then it's going to grow over time to get to exactly where it wants to be. So you want to kind of play that leverage game. That's my strategy in order for me to be successful, to figure out when you're going to pull certain things out. And then you can transfer it to another asset class now. For me, that's real estate. Just buying more into real estate if the opportunity permits. I think I'm going to take a break because I do want to accomplish finishing up this backyard project, making it all nice and good for the summer. So therefore, I'm taking my sweet time in terms of getting like the next property, next venture. And I don't know where God has in place for me as well. I don't know what's next. So therefore, I'm being patient, waiting and trusting in all the opportunities to come and what's to be. So definitely, it's a patience game. It's a wisdom game to continue to nurture your mind. Listen to others, what they have to say, especially in the investment world. But I think with what the scriptures always instruct us to, don't make decisions out of foolishness or out of rush. Try to get rich tomorrow, but it's a long-term play. Anything you can stay consistent to, stick your mind to, I think eventually in the long run is going to be successful. That's why wealth building, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You got to continuously do it. So peace and love, trust in Jesus, keep your mind sharp there for all those mental states that you need in order for you to build that wealth. Have an amazing one.